On a Canadian resume, nobody cares about where you were born, what year you were born in, your marital status. They don't care if you're single, entangled, taking, divorced, polygamous. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Life of Anumbondem. On my channel, I talk about my journey as a practical nursing student and lifestyle. But today, I'm gonna talk about 10 things you have to know before immigrating to Canada. Like the 10 things you need to know in order to get a job easily in Canada. First, you have to know that the Canadian resume is different from the European resume or the European way of doing your resume. So on a Canadian resume, you don't need to put your date of birth, what town you were born in, your marital status.
And what happened?
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with August. That's what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship. Absolutely.
Your photo ID. This means that you need to concentrate on your work experience and education. So I'm gonna put a link below on what a Canadian resume looks like. So you can go check out that link and see samples of a Canadian resume. The second thing I want to talk about is being time conscious. Guys, there's nothing like black man time here. Meaning if you have an interview at 8 a.m., make sure you arrive 15 minutes before time. Don't assume that it's gonna be postponed or anything. Like, make sure you are there before 8 a.m. because if you are not there for the interview, it shows that you're not serious about getting the job. The third thing I want to talk about is your community. If you immigrate to Canada, try to interact with people from other communities. I'm not saying that you should avoid your community, no. Your interaction with other people from other communities should be more, because when you interact with people from other communities, you get to know more about the Canadian system. And this is because Canada is full of people from many cultures. So when you interact with people from many cultures, you learn more rather than being stuck with people from your community. Because being among people from your community, you don't learn more. So another point I'm going to talk about is evaluating your educational background. Since the Canadian system of education is different from maybe the Nigerian system of education or the Cameroonian system of education, it is important for you to get an equivalent of your educational background in relation to the Canadian educational system. So I'm going to put a link below on a website where you can evaluate your documents, and it's called the World Education System. Another point I'm going to talk about is creating a bank account. So when you immigrate to Canada, it's important to have a bank account because most employers pay you through your bank account. So when going for an interview, it's always good to have like a direct deposit slip. Be prepared because this is going to show that you are serious and ready to be hired. Don't keep your employer waiting for your bank information. Always get it done before going for an interview. Another point I would like to talk about is sending a thank you letter to the person who interviewed you. After your interview, when you get home, don't just go home and sit for days without thanking the person who interviewed you. You can send a short email like saying thanks for the interview and saying that you look forward to working with that employer or with that company, and this is going to show that you're serious in getting the job. Some of the things I'm telling you guys right now, I wish I knew before coming to Canada. Or if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure you do and share my video. So the next point I'm gonna talk about is getting a language test done. So it is important for you to get your language testing before getting to Canada. For example, for English speakers, you could do the TOEFL or the IELTS for workers. Is it the IELTS, the International English Language Testing System for workers? So if you do that test, you stand a greater chance to get hired than someone who hasn't done the test. For French speakers, there's a French testing. Remember, Canada is bilingual, so if you can speak both English and French, you are of more advantage to easily get a job than someone who speaks only English or French. So the next point I'm going to talk about is creating a professional profile on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a social media platform where professionals, employers, those looking for a job, business owners, they create a profile. So it's like Facebook, but the difference between Facebook and LinkedIn is that Facebook, like anyone can be on Facebook and you can post whatever you like, but LinkedIn is where you can create your resume on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is mostly for professionals, and there you get the opportunity to get connected with recruiters too. I'm gonna drop a link below on how to create a LinkedIn profile. Another point I'm gonna talk about is when you get to Canada, try to get a certification program related to what you studied back home, related to your work experience or your educational background. The thing is, even if you have a PhD back home or a master's back home, most Canadian employers will prefer somebody who has done even a 6 months program in a Canadian school, meaning that you can take a short course of 6 months or 8 months related to your background, and this is because you stand a greater chance of getting employed as compared to somebody who just brings what he or she has studied back home. Another point is carrying out a research on the company you applied for. For example, if you have an interview with a company, let's say Scotiabank is a bank in Canada, and since as a new immigrant you have no idea about that bank, so as someone looking for a job, you have to make sure you have an idea of what the bank is all about, when it was created, its vision, its mission, and so on. You can even check reviews online of other people who have worked in the bank. Remember, on Google, you can see those reviews. Any company you are being interviewed for, don't forget to always carry out a research on the company before going for interviews so that you will be prepared. And if there is any other point you would like me to add, please make sure you drop it on the comment section below. If you haven't watched my previous video on the express entry immigration, make sure you do. Thank you for watching.